Hey guys, how's it going? I'll give it a couple more minutes. I will say this. I know a lot of you look at like it would be better for me to be here in person, but we discuss this stuff every day too on YouTube. So I highly recommend people watch on that. When we do that. Man, I don't know. My trading views all jacked up. Like 30 in videos on there. Just a minute. Cleaning all this up quick. Okay. You guys can see the screen okay?
Yes.
Yeah,
Good
man, we
morning.
can see it.
All
What's going
right,
on,
cool,
Will?
cool. How's it going?
Good, man. Good to finally talk to you again, buddy. It's like I'm talking to a celebrity, man.
Nah, I'm not a celebrity, man. He's
I know,
busy.
man, but it's just, every time you can grace us with your presence, man, it's always appreciated.
Yeah, for sure. No, I appreciate all you guys continuing to support. I know the Discord may have drawn down a little bit.
Huh? You on Will's new? Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely some interesting times. I think a lot of people are expecting an implosion. I don't know if that's really gonna happen right now. My expectations are a little bit different than most. Um yeah, because Bitcoin teams, they're kind of a lot of their thoughts are as another leg down, like that 1920K zone, which that would not be anything that I would think would be detrimental, let alone not in the realm of reality. Like I think that's something that's realistic. But overall markets look a little bit different. They're giving me a little bit of a different story. So this right here is dollar, right? US dollar overall. This is kind of like your trend since some I've been paying attention to, but your trend since basically over here in 08, 07. So since our real crash over here, right? And then we kind of trended back up. Now, the other thing I noticed too in this, which is really interesting, is that going into 08, 09, we're starting to see over here before the dollar, the dollar starts to gain over here at 0001, it peaks, right? And then from there, we just continue to draw down. And you got 05, 06, you get the bounce, right? 06, 07. And really the bottom of your range here is like that's where you start just getting destroyed in 08, 09. It's like right in here. And what was kind of interesting about this is we got past all that and we started this long-term uptrend. And if we look, we kind of started up here into here and now arguably to here. And I was looking for a double top here, but we may not get a double top there. Now, if we start our downtrend, it's going to be very similar to all previous crashes. So this right here is your 85 and the 86, 87, 88. And if we were to like overlay that on something like SPY, let's go over here, drop in SPY real quick. This is just my thoughts on this. I'm kind of like trying to gauge all this out and look at things as they are and try not to have any biases against the overall market. Hold on, let me adjust this background real quick. Go in here to settings. Oop. There we go. And just drop this in. Whoops. Now I need to leave the crosshair as is. This is what I need to change. That. And then the bars pattern should be okay, but Yeah, we'll be good with that. We'll just do the borders with yellow. All right, there we go. All right, so if we were to zoom out, let's drop it on the monthly over here. Let's go over here to 80s. Right up in here. Here's your 80s. Okay, 70s and the 80s. So this is kind of like your 85, 86. And you can see it over here where the market kind of runs up over here, right? And then you get this long drawdown in the 85, 86, but the market continues to trend against that, right? And really you kind of bounce up over here and then you hit your 2000, right? So when you get your bounce, this is your 2000. This is your top of market 2000. And then you drop, right? And as you drop, you catch a bounce, and in that bounce, you run back up. And then you come over again, you drop down further, that's your Pico high. So this whole drop right here was leading up to this high right here. So this bottom was this top. And when the dollar started gaining against it again, what you got first was the initial crash. And that's what happened right in here. And that was after we had our bottom, right? And then you just had this rampant run up in markets to the upside when it comes to SPY. And arguably right up in here, we've just been kind of ranging. Now the question is, do we break higher here? Or does dollar break down here, right? And I think that a lot of people have not considered that dollar could break down here. And if dollar breaks down here and we start significantly moving down, we could see some big pullbacks, something like this, right? This little Pico move right here could be something, but then again, it could be nothing. One thing that I'm watching for, and something I was looking for SPY, is I was looking for SPY to come back down and retest liquidity down here. And it looks like we're kind of hanging out here, right? We kind of bounced up a little bit, higher time frames, but haven't really confirmed. I don't think we break out here. I think we can, we drop here and then we drop down again to retest liquidity. And really, I think there's a good chance we can end in this 4,100 zone. A lot of us have talked about that. Really good chance we can end at 4,100. And what I would expect if we come down to 4,100, which would be kind of retesting this overall liquidity here. And if we were to put this on the monthly, it's a lot easier to see here. It's right in here, right? Your top liquidity. If you come back down and retest that, you can very easily use that as your grounds to come back up and revisit the high. Now, my expectation would be something similar to 08, 09, 2000 going to 08, 09, something like this, where basically the market dropped, came back up, retested, and dropped a second time even deeper. Now, this isn't the first time this has occurred. It also happened over here between the 60s. So you got 65, going into 670s, going into 74, right? Before the market actually broke out again. And then we have the same thing up here. And really, you know, these drawdowns are really interesting here. I think a lot of people are just, their expectations are this, but the only reason this occurred right here is really because of the stimulus, right? The stimulus actually gave this another leg up, whereas we were supposed to fail here in reality. And that's what's kind of held markets where they are. And that's why markets arguably, I would say, are holding above that stimmy area, because that stimmy area essentially gave you support, right? It gave you support right there. So everything below there is just basically solid liquidity that could hold the market. And this is why we only saw this small pullback into this massive bounce, and really could see another pullback again later on down the road. I think 25, 26 we'll be looking at that. And this is something I talked to my team about too. So pull back into 31 or 41, and then a run up again, continuation. This isn't where you sell either. Like, I think a lot of people are like, well, I need to sell that. If you're selling here to buy back cheaper here, you're not really selling to get any profit out of this, right? There's just not enough there's not enough here. Like if you were buying here to run up here, or you were selling up here to buy down here, sure. But like your risk to reward here is just so small. They could come up and bounce a little bit higher and screw you out of your position too. So it's just not worth. But I would like wait for this to react down. You get the big bleed down. Everybody loses faith. Everybody talks about revisit the lows, bounces back up, retest the high, probably deviates above, and then pulls back below again, right? And retest the low even deeper. So that's my overall expectation for SPY. And if I have this expectation for SPY, arguably I would have this expectation for all assets. I would expect all assets would follow that. One thing I've kind of paid attention to here on the dollar overall is higher time frame. Is what are we doing here? We're continuing to form lower lows, right? Market, it by no means is really wanting to be bullish. And arguably, if we fail here on a dollar, this could be the Pico high, right? And if we start failing here, then all we've done here is create lower highs at the same time. Now, one thing that makes it a little difficult to call it lower highs is the fact that we got above here, right? So you had your breakdown into your breakout, and really this could signify strong dollar, right? But you don't want strong dollar because you won't get strong assets. So weak dollar, weak dollar, strong assets, strong dollar, weak assets. So it's not something that's ideal. We got a nice bounce out here on the dollar. Now, what I would think, and this is what I showed here just a second ago before I deleted it, is I would think not necessarily coming back down here, but where I had it pretty much is right what I would be gauging. We're running up to really run back down, retest the breakout to run back up again, right? That's what I would be looking for. Now, again, this is a much longer term, see, than a lot of people are thinking. Now, what does this mean for assets if I'm expecting this kind of move on the dollar? Does anybody know? Well,
like a bull run there.
Dollar to go up.
yes, I would consider this a bull run, right? So like if your dollar's declining in value, you're more than likely going to be in a major bull run. So yeah, I would say like you're probably looking another decade of bull run. Now, what could happen in the meantime before that happens? Well, you've got a falling wedge here that's respecting price 100%. You had the rising, or not wedge, but channel, sorry. You had the rising, and now you got this falling channel that looks like it wants to be bullish. So in the short term, we could see this move break out, a retest of this high before we see that breakdown. So what would that mean if we got a breakout here? Is to me, that would mean that we get a major breakdown, right? And again, that could occur 25, 26. It doesn't have to occur right now. And that's what I think a lot of people are looking for. They're looking for that move to happen right this moment. And I don't think that that's what's going to happen here. I think this is going to roll out. We're going to get our bull run, right? And then once we get our bull run, as we're channeling down, boom, breakout, ends the bull run. Everything gets wrecked. Market comes back down, retest the lows. And then you get your breakdown, right? And that's your gradual break out of the area right here again. It's very reminiscent of what happened here, right? This is just a smaller scale. That's it. But this is what I think will happen basically until 2030. I think we're running into here, run down to here, 2030, we're kind of in that breakout move. And crypto will also be in that breakout move. You'll also be in that breakdown move here, right? You'll be bottoming in 2030. This will be your major market. So your major market's not really until, basically another bull run for now. But you're still going to get a decent amount of liquidity out of this one, I would imagine. I haven't seen a bull market that hasn't done well. So I would expect a breakdown into a breakout, into a breakdown, major breakdown into 2030. 2030 big boom, right? That's your big explosion. They'll say AI, yada yada. They'll just the normal makeup stuff, pretend these things are real, and then get retail to float, to basically run all their money through the market, and then take all that money out, take all that liquidity out. Those of you around for 2021, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They took all that money away. It went like a lot of things 99x down or more. So it's actually pretty nuts when you see these things play out. But yeah, this is my thoughts right now with the dollar and SPY and so on and so forth. I still think there's a bit of a bull market left here. But I think in the end, all this right here is kind of accumulating to distribute later on, another year or two down the road. I know a lot of people are still expecting a bear run potentially in 2024. That's a potential too, especially in crypto, right? And this is something I talked to my team about too. I wouldn't want to see fast moves, right? If I'm expecting a bear run for an entire year, that would basically mean that Bitcoin would have to do this, right? And then maybe drop down, and then maybe drop down, and then come out over here, right? That if I was expecting some kind of bear run through all of 2024, that's what I'd be expecting. Whereas I know a lot of people are sitting here anticipating some kind of move like this, grab of liquidity down here. That's a possibility too, but I just don't think it's in the books, right? I don't think it's in the books until we actually get to a point where we're breaking supports. What are your supports here? Well, you got your POV, which is basically your center right here, your POC, sorry, point of control, which is basically this double top right here, and then this breakout. So you had liquidity below, and now you had controlled liquidity above. And this is why I said, to my team, I was like, look, as long as you stay above here, which is what we're doing, price will remain above here, right? It can continue to play sideways as long as it wants. But if you break below here, you've now violated the point of control. And once you violate the point of control now becomes resistance, right? So if we were to break down here somewhere, arguably I'd say we do this, and then we might even chop back down to the lows again, right? At that point. So my expectations would not be like, okay, we're going to come down here, bounce out and break out. Like I think a lot of people are thinking. I think that you flip this resistance, this becomes hard resistance, right? It took a lot of liquidity to get through here. So for them to come back in and do that again, I don't know if that'll happen again. So that means that we would probably drag down for the entire year of 2024, come out of the halving, boom, halving's green line right here. So, and remember, market doesn't always have to move directly on the halving. It's not like the market goes boom into the halving and just moon. But that's not what it does. There are plenty of times where you'll see the market play into the halving, the pullback, run into the halving, continue to chop, and then break out somewhere over here, right? After the halving. So it doesn't always have to be like just straight up from here, and vice versa. I would say now this hasn't happened before, this other example I'm gonna give you, but I would say arguably you could maybe break out before, right? I just think you're too close to the halving for that to happen. I think you're gonna kind of do one of these and then break out later, right? That's your breakout move. But yeah, I mean, if you look at total crypto market cap, it's another one too that I think not enough people give justice. But total crypto market cap's an interesting one. Let's see here, M2 and M2. I keep hearing M2 from all these macro experts who, apparently know M2 like the bottom of their hands. They must have invented it. But I would say arguably you topped right here on the market, right? And then what'd you do on M2? You chopped sideways. And then what'd you do through 2022? You got obliterated, right? Price came down. Now you're moving this way. And really, I think a lot of people are trying to be like, oh, it's going this way. No, you haven't started curving yet. So the reality is, yeah, you could chop sideways, or you could just continue up, right? It doesn't have to stay curved. These type of things happen all the time on M2. If you look right here and over here, this is a great example of that. Is basically price came over and then ran, right? So don't always believe everything you're told. Just understand that, the opposite could happen from what you're hearing. overall, M2 to me, it's just what's happening right now with M2 is just a blip. But this is basically where they injected money. See right here? You could see the giant move up, whereas we were more in a linear curve prior to this move. We were more in a curve like this. An uptrend that was going to just continue to uptrend, and you could see the extra liquidity right there. You guys see that? It's pretty crazy. A lot of people, they haven't even paid attention to that. But that's your extra liquidity right there. Here, we'll just draw a straight line right across that. Everything above here is extra. That's all your extra liquidity. And really, it's being sucked back out. So if we were to come back down to trend here, right, our line, really in reality, we could, bounce right off of this. Now, does that mean that we have to curve down and we're going to see M2 bleed? No, I mean, we could literally just go like this, chop into it, and then, start to break away from there. So we'll see how this plays out, but you can see all the extra liquidity right there where they stimulated. Same thing happened over here going into 98, 99, and then they stimulated, and then you had that flat all the way up, right? And if you look in here too, there's no way to tell. Like, look here, 05, 06, 07, 08. Here's your 08 crash. Do you see any disruptions in the M2 money supply? Anybody? I don't see any disruptions, right? I see nothing, no changes on M2 money supply at all. So if there's no changes in 08, 09 crash, how can anybody use the M2 money supply to tell you that this is the way to look and see what's going on with the market? And here's another example. Look, here's 2000. Here's 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004. Look, there's literally nothing. There is nothing happening here to tell you there was going to be a crash. Absolutely zero. This is why when people reference M2, I'm just like, dude, you're just so far off sides. You have no clue, right? Like, there's nothing here indicating that any crash was going to happen. Absolutely zero. This was a discussion I had in a space like a couple weeks ago, and somebody tried to reference it. M2, I'm like, dude, you got to understand what M2 is. And if you could show me an example, I'd love to see it. But I don't know. I don't see a single example anywhere in this chart. I mean, you got small ripples, but let's be realistic. The only places that you see disruptions in M2 is places where they stimulate it. That's it. That's the only disruption. If I were to take this line and just run it straight down, and I were to just look, we'll go like this. We'll run it straight across, right? Something like that. All you can see on here, on the bigger scheme, the bigger thing here, is injections. That's it. Injection. But everything eventually does what? Comes back to trend. Now, there will be ripples in between, obviously, but you're never going to see them on M2. It's just not going to be there. It's not there. There's nothing there to show me that M2 is going to be the problem. Any questions up to here? And then we'll continue. I've even heard people reference global too. It's not really a thing. I wouldn't really worry too much about it. I would say so. I'll throw some projects and we'll kind of look at them together. So here's Matic.
Right? Hey, well, what's going on, Wiz Felipe, man? I'm just tuning in. A quick question, man. What are you referring to when you say M2?
So M2 is like overall liquidity, right? So like M2 here in this reference is like our Federal Reserve. So this is all of our money, right? That's all of our money combined. And a lot of people like to say, oh, this right here is, this is showing that money is slowing down.
Okay.
But
thank you.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Yeah, this is all the money right here. That's what this represents. This represents anytime it gets stimulates, any stimulation as far as the, printing money and adding it to the economy, so on and so forth.
Okay.
If you look here, it's pretty much just a straight line up, right? It's liquidity building on liquidity, building on liquidity all the way up. So as you can kind of see here, we do get ripples of stimulation as that occurs. But at the end of the day, it always comes back to trend, right? And then what's it going to do when it comes back to trend? It's going to just run straight lined up, right? It's not going to do anything crazy. And this is why, like, I don't think it's a good way to measure liquidity or measure market direction.
Appreciate you, Will.
Yeah, no problem. I didn't bring this up to kind of tell you guys, hey, this is a tool you can use. I brought this up so if somebody brings up M2 money supply, just tell them to show you in the chart what they're talking about, because there's literally nothing here that I could see that's, you could say liquidity here is coming back, but you could also argue that liquidity never moved in 08, 09. It never moved in 2000, 2001, but we still had crashes. So if you can't identify the crashes, what does it matter? It's just an irrelevant tool, right? The only thing it's showing you is just building liquidity, and it'll show you where stimulation happened. That's it. That's all I've been able to identify on it, right? Because I think what a lot of people don't understand with them too is that they're not going to take money out. Money doesn't actually leave. It's not like they're taking money and putting it in a barrel and catching it on fire. It stays in the economy. Now, does overall growth slow down as far as M2? Sure. Yeah, overall growth does slow down. But I would say at the same time, the money's not going anywhere. It's a sleight of hand. It's from one person to another, or one company to another, or so on and so forth. Now, one thing you could identify on here is these, right? And I'll point this out. Stochastic, right? Your stochastic here did kind of identify first ripple, big boom, right? And then over here, 08, 09, you would have caught that one way late, because that was way outsides. Yeah. So yeah, even stochastic, I can't even get it on stochastic. Yeah. That's interesting. Looks like your biggest ripple is right here, and then gradually just been higher and higher. You got little ones here. There's just nothing there to really measure any type of like, hey, we're going into a recession. And we'll get into some other tools too, but I just want to cover some different projects, because I think covering all these will kind of help us gauge where the market is. Overall, I mean, Maddox just, you got the lower highs here on the move. Nothing crazy. You got stability across this support zone. You break this support zone, you're probably filling everything all the way down, right? You're going to fill this entire FVG. You're just going to come down, go into it, 4 or 5 cent Matic, boom, done. I don't know if that happens. We may continue to play the trend here and hold, right? So it's a very difficult one to gather here. As if you were looking at it from a chart standpoint, this should break. But we're seeing the same thing over here in BNB, and this is why I told them, like, they're sitting there trying to like short this here. I'm just like, dude, look, like, this is not the area to be looking for shorts. It's just not. You need to break this with massive force to be able to even consider. Like, what I would expect is this, and then it would just puke. But it's more of a luck play than it is, hey, let's go short BNB, because the reality is they could come back down here, hold, and then rip your face off, and then come back down and trade all the way into the trend. The trend is like right along here, right? So because that's the case, it's just not a safe one to be looking to short. I wouldn't bother with it. It's not worth your time. Coin, this was when I expected to pull back on, got a decent pullback. I was expecting them to come all the way back to here. I was anticipating that while price was still up here. And now, we're really close. I don't know if we'll make it all the way in there. They did come back and they did touch liquidity on top of this last candle here. So that's interesting. I thought they were going to still pull it back a bit more though. It didn't give up as much as I thought it would. But it did give up to these candles. But if we look here and we were to like take this line here and we were to put it across these highs, arguably we'd be retesting resistance here, right? So if we're retesting resistance here, the question is, does this trend hold or does it break? You get your move, you get your move. Now, does it break out or does it break the low here? If it does, I would say it's coming back down, right? It's going to revisit these lows at minimum at that point, and then if not, it's going to pop back up with a vengeance right here, right? It's going to be one of those two scenarios, but they've been slowly but gradually breaking this this uptrend or breaking the sellers in these zones. You can see here, you started to decline, right? And you basically flip that. And now you're starting to incline, right? So you're getting higher highs. And you're also getting higher lows. So it's like, does it end here or does it continue in its uptrend? This is kind of the area to be watching for coin if I were looking at it, but there's a lot of inherent risk down here to the lows. A lot of this was more dependent on this bullish div right here that played out. And this is something we talked about on the show today, is like this is what you're looking for. Whenever you're looking for something to jump into, you're looking for trend to be against trend. Whenever you're getting rising strength in the lower end price action, you are in an area to start bidding, right? You could have bid here, or you could have waited for the breakout move up here, saw that we bounced out the trend and taken that as your position and bid here, and you would have still got decent upside even from here, right? And you just got that gap right there that kept getting filled all the way across. And then eventually, once that support remained, they ripped up again, right? And now you're slowly bleeding back down, and really you could bleed sideways, or you could start just breaking to the upside here because your trend is higher highs, higher lows, right? You haven't broken that trend yet. And until we break that trend, your move here is bullish. And this is something I've been talking to people about. And I'm just like, look, there's no scenario that I can see across the board here that's telling me that things are breaking down yet. There's no substantial scenario. This one could get nasty for sure. Alpha is one of those I've been talking about, but this one could definitely get nasty because your trend realistically is here, right? So Alpha will do a couple different things here. It's going to do this and kind of roll over to it, in which case you don't want to be shorting, or it's going to do this, right? And really take liquidity away. And then at that point, maybe play the trend to the upside and then break out again somewhere here. And I would say, and the reason I would call for that is because I would say this is kind of like your first impulse, second impulse, third impulse, fourth impulse, fifth impulse, and you probably break somewhere just like up here. But that'll take a long period of time. This is stock, not a crypto. So these take a little while to play out. But that would be my expectations with that. Something I've been watching is D-Space. This one's been very interesting because if we look at price here, what are we seeing there? What are we seeing? I would say we see a bullish div, right? Regardless of how ugly that looks, you got your move. And then not only do you have one there, and really you could wait for it to come down a little more, or you could just say, you got that playing into that, right? That playing into that. So when I look at this, I'm just like, man, look at where you are on the RSI. What is the potential on that? You know, that's what I ask myself. I'm just like, what is the potential? If that plays bullish, what is the potential of that if it doesn't break? So definitely something I'm paying attention to here. You've also got lower in volume here on this one. So this is kind of like a little gem. This thing's a really small cap, but you've got lower in volume here too, right? It's kind of dropping you down. So a breakout could occur at some point. This thing's just been, it's been dead and dead and dead. I really think this thing's going to see some liquidity. I got to look into the project a little bit myself, make sure it's still alive because I've only been looking at charts. But if it's still alive, man, like this is a beautiful looking chart. OX Weath. And this was my expectation here, as you can see by my green, my green arrow, is that we were going to chop up here, and that's exactly what we're doing. Really, in reality, I think OX pulls back. I think it's similar as like in here is where we're coming back to. I don't think we hold up here. Probably just chop down into a falling wedge into a breakout, right? If I'm expecting OX to go bullish, this is what I would expect for that move. And you can see it right here. RSI is dropping up here. You're starting to get that bear dip plane where you're continuing to drop highs, just keep on getting lower and lower and lower. So definitely something interesting here to keep an eye on. Nothing too bullish on that side.
Hey, Will.
Yep.
What's the correlation?
I have a
with,
question too.
OPNX and Ox and the Because Bitcoin crew there, because they seem to like that coin there.
Oh, they're a sponsor. That's basically it, man. Like
Is
I
OPNX like a exchange? Do you guys?
yes, OPNX is an exchange, right? It's their exchange token, essentially. So kind of like KuCoin has its own, right? BNB's Binance and so on and so forth. So they all have their own exchange tokens. So that's the exchange token of that one. Usually I'm pretty bullish on exchange tokens, to be honest with you. I think overall they're really good at. At least people like to bid them in the bull run, right? You just sell them to them in the bull run. Yeah. Did you have any other questions outside of that?
That was it, man. Go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead, Ozzy.
Hey, I noticed on the Twitter account for Because Bitcoin that OPNX is partnered with Because Bitcoin. Is Because Bitcoin getting paid to show that company?
Yeah, that's how partnerships work. Yeah. So they are getting paid for essentially to advertise for them, basically.
Kind of a gray line with me because I I follow you and I don't, I'm sort of like getting to know them, but it's sort of like a red flag to think about that company whenever I know that there's a bias, but I'm sort of conflicted because I don't know where you really stand on that coin. I mean, I understand the TA and I understand the graph and the fundamentals, but do you think that if you weren't with that team, you'd still share the same opinion?
So I gotta put this on. I'm just trying to think of how to phrase this. Sorry.
Cool. I mean, I asked you in this group and not in the other one, just out of respect.
100%. Yeah, and I post these videos, so that's why I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. But
okay. Damn, so I put you on the spot. Should have texted you.
I would say the
here's
people.
Why I'm telling. Here's why I'm saying this because when we were in fundamental, where's that other course with Alex?
Fundamental Secrets.
Yeah, there you go. There was a guy that was like CEO or had internal workings with like this company called Door, and maybe it might do well in the future, it might not, but like the lesson learned there was not to jump into coins that are being that the members are being biased towards because of their own conflict of interest,
Yeah.
So
I'll give you this info, right? Never buy a coin that's because it's sponsored by somebody you like.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, of course.
Only buy a coin that you're interested in, that you maybe have fundamentals in that you like. I do have some Ox, but I would tell you this: I think the people behind it, they've had issues in the past. But I think a lot of those same people, it's not just them, because I've seen a lot of people come back that have had issues with failed projects in 2021, right? But I think that those things for a lot of those guys, at least in my opinion, those are learning curves for them, And at the end of the
Right.
day, they'll get better because of the issues they had previously. Does that make sense? Or at
No,
least
of
they'll
course.
be able to get better marketing, you know, and get it going. I would definitely sell in the bull run though, 100%, every single one. Does that
Okay.
make sense? Or does that
Yeah.
make a better answer?
No, it makes sense. I do understand that fundamentally every cycle, whatever used to be good coins or good companies, it's like they're setting the standard for the next one. And whether it was their owner or they had to start over again, I think it's still only going to get better. But before I got deep into like researching them, I had that like nagging curiosity, which you answered about the whole bias towards the company. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I always try to be transparent with you guys. I'm never gonna sit here and BS you. You know, that's not my position. My position is to be as straightforward and honest as I can be. And I'm definitely, you know, that's the approach I try to take with the way I phrase that. But I would definitely buy what I wanted to buy. I wouldn't buy something because I'm like, hey guys, check this out. Blah blah blah. This is the play. This is the play. This is the play. Buy things that are fundamentally sound. You want to be able to sell these things in the next bull run, right? You can't go to somebody in the next bull run like it is a shitcoin. Buy my shitcoin, right? I mean, there's potential some of these shitcoins might work out, but like at the end of the day, you want to buy things that you're guaranteed to be easy sellers to the next, you know, the next slide of hand, more or less, in the next bull run. So that always be cautious unless you know what you're getting into. I would also say, like, if you're not using the platform, like OpenX, for instance, Ozio, this is another good take. If you're not using the platform, then why buy their token? You know what I'm saying with that?
Yeah, I do. It's like when I learned stocks. Like I started out only picking the ones that I actually use in real life.
There you
If I
go.
don't like Nike shoes, I'm not going to buy Nike stocks.
Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes that's the better way to invest because if it's something you like or you're using the product, you know it's usable. You know it's something that that you can invest in confidently because you use it, right? And when you're investing in something you're not confident in or something that you haven't used before, you're taking risks because you don't understand it. So I hope that makes it easier for everybody.
It does make it easier. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Exchange tokens can be tricky, especially because like this is like people look at this with BNB and now all they're gonna do is buy every exchange token thinking that this is gonna happen for them. Right? They're gonna think they're gonna come in and buy these exchange tokens for under $1, and all of a sudden their OpenX is gonna be worth, you know, $400. And they bought at 2 pennies. I don't think that's the case for every exchange token. It just CZ's been around a long time. Binance has been around a long time, and this is something I had a conversation with someone earlier today. I think it was a team. I told him I was like, look, I was like, who's your top market makers? And Tommy said he gave out some names, and Binance. Sorry, hold on 1 second, guys. Give me 1 second. Sorry, there was a lot of background noise. No, Binance was like his number 3, right? And I was like, why is that? Like they've been around a long time. They got a lot of liquidity. I was like, exactly. I was like, they can sit here and float BNB as long as they want. Like there's literally zero reason to even look at this thing for shorting or long, and it's going to continue to be manipulated however they can. But I can tell you this: look at price here on BNB. What has it done? Absolutely nothing. Right? It's done nothing. You got your lower highs here. Arguably, like that's pretty much it. There's zero reason to buy this, zero reason to short it, zero reason to long it, because there's nothing to get out of it. That's your lower highs right there. And where do you go from here, right? You got the same lows, lower highs. I would call this a compression move. And if price can't break down, it's going to break out. So you got like a 50-50 chance here if you're shorting or if you're long. And some of you may be like, that's really good odds. No, I think that's really bad odds. right? When it comes to trading, you want to be a lot more confident to the one side than the other. And I would say my confidence would not be here on either side of this because your support is right here. And you're compressing, but you're continuing to hold floor. So arguably, the trade would tell me go long, right? But when you look across the board, there is really good potential that this goes short because your trend is here. So it's a really difficult, what I would call pinch point on price. And so it's just not worth, it's not worth my effort to get invested into this. Now, I would say there are other plays, right? There are definitely other plays. I like Block. I think this one looks really good. This is Amplify transformational data sharing. This one looks really freaking good, man. Like, look at all this liquidity we broke out. We're using that as support, right? Looks really good right through here. But overall profit wasn't over here until 2021, right? 2021, you lost all that, came back down. This is really the area to buy. A lot of people are too scared to buy in here, and price broke back out. Now we consolidate. Now, the question is, do we hold this and do we break out again later? Possibly. Yeah. This one actually looks really good. I like the consolidation range. I like the drop in volume here. Dropping the volume looks really nice, almost dead, right? And a lot of people don't talk about volume enough. I think a lot of people are like, oh, look, there's no volume. That's good. That is a good thing. It is a very good thing to have no volume as long as the company and stock and or crypto project is still operating, right? You had no volume here, and then look, boom, right? Activity. So if you'd have been like, oh, no volume, and you just been buying through here, let's say you'd have bought here at the high, you could have got 251% when that broke out. This is why low volume is the best place to be buying things, man. It just is. Like, I love buying low volume. Let's go over to ADA. Crypto project. This has been in a straight downtrend forever, and arguably looks like it may have found a footing here, right? Really good floor here. Definitely broke my bull trend that I had here, right? Broke my bull trend that I had there. So now we have to see, are they going to hold or are they going to break out? Really, what I would like to see here, if I'm going to see it, you can see right here, price hit here. You can see the wick right here, price hit here. I'd like to see it come out and retest this trend again. And I'd like to see it hold an uptrend on RSI. If it can do that, boom, I would expect this to be very bullish, right? Very, very, very bullish. But right now, we haven't got that for confirmation. Let's go into ICP. So we've been talking about this range. It's beautiful. It's lovely. Have we broken the range? All of this year, have we broken this range? No. It continues to hold sideways. We continue to rise on an RSI. And look, arguably this entire drop has only been opportunities for somebody to keep buying in heavier and heavier and heavier. The entire drop. So this has been a very interesting one. And I think that this is the ideal place to be looking at this. But we'll see at the end of the day. But anywhere between 3 and 5, I think is a deal. This to me looks like accumulation. It looks like accumulation all day. We had the drop, and now we're just kind of playing sideways. All right, moving into Mara, right? So Marathon, those of you who don't know, miner, big miner. So I was wanting to see them hold price up here. This was the area I'd like to see them hold because you had all this solid liquidity over here. But we kind of broke back into these areas now. And now it's kind of like, okay, what do we do from here? Do we break out or do we trade back down? Well, we'll see at the end of the day. But arguably, I'd say we probably trade back down. Your long bull trend here is broken. You might come back up to retest, and then you're probably going to fail and come back down, right? So I would say your next levels to be watching the B2 levels on Mara, which would be here at 854. And then, you know, even right in here, this one's a really good one. You can see right here, you have liquidity here, liquidity here. This is almost like what I would arguably say that what it looks like it wants to be is an inverse head and shoulders, right? This looks like it wants to be an inverse, and I'll show you what that looks like real quick. This looks really good for 1-2, by the way. So you basically had to drop, left shoulder, play high, head, play high, right shoulder, play high. Right? That's what that looks like to me. Higher time frame. How bearish does that look? I mean, the drop from here to here is going to be pretty bearish. Don't get me wrong, but like, arguably, I would say this is looking really good for a really good setup. Got the same setup on Bitcoin on the week, got lower time frames, or previously too, right? I caught the same thing on DJI. These plays love me. They love me. And what's kind of confirming that? Well, arguably, what do we see right here with RSI? RSI is building to the upside, right? So even though there will be a drop, it's going to be more of a bullish drop than a bearish drop for sure. I would watch this one because you see maybe even set alarms just below $8, right? Maybe $7.90, something like that. Because once you break that $7.90, you'll probably waterfall down, hit liquidity, and bounce hard. Maybe come back up, hit this as resistance, tap, tap, tap. Look like you're gonna bleed back down, but in reality, bleed back down and then roll back up, right? And then you get that big breakout move right here from Mara. This looks really good for that. Really, really, really good. I'm liking it. So something I'd be watching for in this one. I'll go. Not looking the greatest. I won't lie, not looking the greatest. Looking very bleak, like it wants to draw down more. I would say, yeah. I mean, it could come down pretty deep if it wanted to. That's kind of your trend right there. But I would say at the same time, even though you've had this long bleeding downtrend, you still got strength in your favor. Arguably, you're still holding the range of the 30 on the RSI. So, more of a watcher from here and then see where things go. And if they go well, you could, you can make out really well in this. I think a lot of this is kind of the smaller move, right? A lot of people are looking at this like, oh, I can catch it at 5 cents or 4 cents or 3 cents. Like, yeah, you could. You could also got it over here at like 8 cents when it dropped there, but a lot of people didn't want to touch it. So, and then you've also got volume playing out of the favor of the bears, right? You don't have the volatility, you don't have the volume. So how are you going to drop more? Stochastic still looks like it wants to run, so we'll see how that plays. But arguably, I'd say like this is kind of your area to DCA in. This is what I'll be looking to do on Algo. I think this is a good play. Not everybody's on the same page as me on that, but that's fine. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being on the opposite of the normie play. This is my ETH play I had for a while. Now we had the falling wedge played out to the upside, came up tap. I was expecting a breakout somewhere over here. It looks like they came up tap and they're breaking back down, right? They already hit their low here. So arguably I would say this 1485 could be the low, right? All they got to do is sweep this. If they sweep that, they're coming up, right? That's all they got to do. Now, you're just looking to tap the liquidity. That's all you're looking to do. And really, if you triple tap up here, you could come down pretty hard, right? What's the other thing? Well, if we break the channel to the downside, that's going to be really bad because that means we'll probably bleed back down to these lows and maybe even violate those, right? So we have to watch for that just in case. That's kind of where I'd be at with this one as far as Ethereum goes. You can see right here the lows have played in the same area, highs have played in the same areas. Expectations are if they're going to bleed back down, they're going to bleed back down to the same areas. We could get a triple top and then, on the triple bottom it breaks, or we get a triple bottom and then this is the low 1200, right? And then we get a retest of the high. If we get a low before a high, I would expect that the bottom is in, right? So if we continue to trade down, catch the low before we catch the high, I would expect the bottom is in. Now, if we break out, I would expect the triple top, break back down, and probably violate the low, right? Some kind of flush for some odd, weird reason. Do we know what that reason is? No, but it's something I'd be watching for. Go ahead, Ozu.
Yeah, I remember before all the stakers for Ethereum were able to unlock all their coins right after they changed was it proof of stake where and the whole burning ETH after every transaction. And at one point I think we thought that it would dip after all the stakers could have their chance because the rest of the market was going down at the time, and it didn't actually drop all that much. And then I'm thinking like this whole time its gas fees has still been paid, and so theoretically more small number of ETH that's gotten burned as well. And so I'm not sure how to research or find out how much exactly does that mechanism support its average price, if that makes sense.
I would say it all depends on transactions, right? If your transaction's slow, actually Ethereum's inflationary. A lot of people don't talk about that. But if your transactions remain above a certain hash, I have to look it up too, then it's deflationary. So it just all depends on that. And I would say liquidity is not necessarily staying. It's actually leaving. And I'll show that in total. And we're getting more of a shift of liquidity from some areas to other areas, right? To support price in some projects versus others.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll get to that in just a minute. What do we see right here with the oh, go ahead. Or just something else?
Nope. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. What do we see right here with 30? Anybody? So this is a 30-year fixed mortgage. We're about to double top. We are about to. I was not expecting this. Not gonna lie. I just opened this just now and saw this. we're about to double top on the. And really, I think we're about to go a lot higher. Eesh. Yeah. Yeah. I think that breaks out. Now that we're up here, I mean, they could fail and drop back down. If they fail, it's going to be bad. Look at this run, though, man. Like, jeez. Everybody said it was over for the housing market. Look at this. Absolutely insane. That's all I can say. Look, here's your 00 to 03. This is your big crash. Over here's your 07 going to 08, 09. That's your big crash. There's no substantial moves before that, right? They just trade sideways, drop, trade sideways, drop, trade sideways, drop. And now we're starting to violate previous price. Like, I don't know if like the housing market's about to go into some big boom or like what's about to happen here, but like I just hope it's not something like this, right? To where it just rides up and then goes. But I can tell you going up is good for housing. Not bad. So this is definitely some interesting stuff here. We don't have to get into that one. So Bitcoin, let's talk about Bitcoin real quick. So this is kind of that area. This is your make or break, right? This is your make or break zone for Bitcoin. You're either gonna flush this or you're gonna rip, right? So that means we're gonna either do this for an extended period of time, break out somewhere's over here, and this was your dip, right? Now, if you break below here and you start coming down to here, I think a lot of people are going to be looking for reversals here. Yeah, I would too. But guess what? Reality says we'll probably get a flush into another move, right? Going into the halving and then a breakout somewhere's over here. if that happens, right? You need to hold this 25K zone. You have to hold this. If you lose this area, $25,000, you're going to get wrecked because like you've got lots of resistance here. It's not just gonna be like, all right, we're going back through. It's gonna come up, it's gonna hit, it's gonna reject. That's my expectations on this move if that happens, man. It's not gonna be pretty. So be careful with that one. What I've done on some of my positions, not all, is I've kind of come in here and I've put stops just a little bit below. And then if it hits those stops, it may knock me out and move away. But the reality is, I think if it hits these stops, it's gonna fake back out to takeaway, right? To come back down. And this will be your deviation, lower high move, drop down, grab, deviation, lower high move, drop back down, grab, and it'll just start grabbing liquidity to the downside until it doesn't, right? Until it doesn't. So that's what we have to watch for. Now, again, I won't say that it's impossible for price to come down here. I can't entertain it until what? Until we see that trend reversal, right? Until we see that trend reversal, I can't entertain it. So for now, it's going to be where it is. And if we start moving into these areas, then I can entertain, hey, maybe we could see price move down to these areas, right? But until we start getting down into this 19K zone again, I just can't entertain that right now. And you have to have rules with every trading position, and that's my rules. My rules are you're above POC, you're bullish, below POC, you're bearish, and we're above. So I have to continue to play the trade as it is. Even from a long-term investing standpoint, right? Even in the long-term investing, like you don't want to sell to buy lower at these positions, because the reality is like you're already down exponentially from your high, right? And you could potentially lose this position and have to buy higher if that price moves against you. You don't want to see that. Oh, let's see. Alpha already got this open. Energy's been kind of interesting this year too. Lucid has not done what I've wanted it to, but what I'm kind of looking for here is I'm looking for this play to play into a compressed move, right? A falling wedge in a sorts. I think Lucid's maybe a couple months, 3 months out from breaking out, right? My expectations here were downside, 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 especially now, right? Because we're below support again. So we come back down, we retest, and if we look here, we actually have a bull div playing in our favor right now. And I think when they come back to trend on a bull div, boom, that's where you're gonna get your breakout. So this is what I'd be looking for Lucid. Obviously stochastics overbought a little bit, but that can roll right out the 50 and come right back up again. Stochastic means nothing. It means more if your stochastics way down here or way up here, right? Because if you're way down here and you just got crushed on price, I would say you're probably looking to roll out. Whereas because we're up here and we're kind of crushed on price a little bit here, and we're crushed on RSI, we still have room on RSI. We still have room on chart. That could be the room to bring RSI, our stochastic, back to a reset. And if stochastic resets, you're on your bull div, you're at your bull div on price. Like that's a beautiful setup, a perfect setup, honestly. If those three things were to occur in perfect harmony, like this is a bid all day long. It's a bid for me. So something I'll be paying attention to. Krill was something else I was watching. This thing's just been getting crushed hand over fist. It did have a nice bull dip playing into the drop here. Arguably, I would say it may have lost that, right? But I would say this too: your vol is dead. Your vol is 100% dead. So I would continue to watch this one either way, just because of vol. X getting completely obliterated. Not much to say here. I mean, you could draw I guess a trend here, but like you've already violated your trend there. Like I don't know where you go from here. There's just nothing like I guess I could be like, oh, that's your trend, but like that doesn't make any sense, right? You want to touch as much as possible, which I would have said was right here, and you violated, retested, right? Look at this retest, retested and failed. Now you're beautiful, right? So, but this right here, this angle line could be considered your POC too, right? Which means if you're playing up here on this side of it, you're bullish. You're playing out here, you're bearish, but you could flip it again, right? And move back to the upside. Flip it as support. Just like that. So that would be something to watch for, right? You flip this as support. You could definitely be looking for probably price to break out really hard, come back down and retest, and then be bullish moving forward. And that could be a good indicator going into the next market. Well, yeah, stock, yes, for sure. Stock can be considered the more current, and the RSI is more the long term. Correct. Yeah, that's why, like, if you were to put Bitcoin, for instance, on a higher time frame, like monthly, for instance, and you were to look at the trend here, you're declining on RSI and you're inclining on price, right? It looks really funny. But this is your big spike over here. Like, look at this spike on volume here, and look at 2021. That was higher. Do you guys see why I flipped bullish this year? Like, you have more vol through here, right, than you had at the entire Pico part of the market, guys. It's absolute insanity, right? You got your Pico high, your vol is almost 1/3 of what it was when they were in here. This tells you that knife catching was occurring here, right? So this is where you're looking to get in. This is where you're looking to buy, and really this right here, all this move, it's almost like this, right? It's almost like this, and nobody sees it because they're all sitting here like, oh, we come all the way down to here, we go all the way down to here. No, just it's almost like we dropped here and came back up and maybe recaptured this right here. That's basically what's happened right here. This is, for me, that's still a buy. It's still a buy, guys. Like, I wouldn't care if we had a black swan and this thing went boom and dropped back down below where I got in, and I'd be like, oh, I regret it. No, I don't regret it at all. Like, you got to look at your upside to where you are in the chart, right? Your potential here is immense in comparison to what you have in the chart. It's just a matter of, can you hold on to it? Can you bear the pain of the drawdown to get into the next bull market, right? And I would say, if you believe in crypto, you can. And if you don't believe in crypto, then yeah, it's going to be hard for you. It'll be very hard for you. Maybe that's not the investment tool you're looking for. Maybe you're looking for something that's better or a little more stable. Go ahead, Erica.
Yeah. So you brought up a good point right there. And I think, like, I'm struggling with, because I was in it last cycle. And when I got in last cycle, I got in like right where the U started for the bear market. Like, so in October 2020, November 2020, that's when I got in. And so now I got in a little bit earlier than that. And I'm so like, like, sometimes I do feel like, oh yeah, I bought Bitcoin at 25K. And I don't know, it doesn't feel good, but I know it's okay because I know it's not going back to last cycle. Like, last cycle, I was getting it at 10, 11, 9. So it's like, it feels weird buying it at 25 or 20, 25, but it's
That's
right.
just the mental.
Yeah, it's the mental thing. That's all I'm trying to say right now. It's like, mentally, like, it's confusing.
Mm-hmm. No, I definitely feel you on that, man. Like, these markets can be very very tricky, and they can get you to think that you're in the wrong position a lot of the time. It's actually pretty crazy. It's a matter of being able to bear the drawdown and be able to have conviction to what you're buying, right? It doesn't mean marry the project. It doesn't mean shill the project. It means have a conviction that you're in the right thing at the right time, and in the next bull market, you'll be able to sell it for exponentials over what you bought it for. If you can have
Yeah.
that kind of conviction, you're good.
And I think I do. It just feels weird just knowing what I got into it last time. And also, like, I didn't know about like the smaller cap coins before. So I wasn't like, basically what I did is went from Bitcoin to Ethereum and like trickled down. And I did it all at the right time. So everything timed out perfectly. But now I think I'm not saying I think I'm all smart or nothing like that, but it's like, oh, now I'm finding out about all these lower cap. And I think I really did get into it a little bit too early, actually. Some of them.
Yeah, I mean, you could be, but again, it's not right now, unless you think the project's going to go to zero, right? Unless you think the project's going to go to zero, right now is not the time to be like, hey, did I get in too early? At least for me, right? At least for me, I'm not looking at things that way. I'm looking at things like buy cold storage, buy cold storage, buy. I'm not even looking at it. I'm not even looking at my cold storage. I'm not. It's sitting there. Whatever dollar amount I bought, and I continue to keep on diving in wherever I feel like I need to be in, and I'll just continue to keep on holding those positions until the next bull market comes. If that bull market comes in 2030, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because I have confidence in the projects that I bought will make it to the next bull run, whether that be in 2024, 2025, 2030. These are fundamentally good projects. They have good teams, solid teams behind them. And, I also hedge my positions. So that means like if I'm getting into some, bigger cap crypto projects that have been around for a long time, yeah, they'll probably heed a 10x, but that 10x will make up for any losses if any of the smaller caps that I have go to zero before the next one.
I'm glad you said that. Cause I was kind of abandoning my old I didn't have any coins. I dumped everything. Like, not when you told us. Remember, like you told us twice back then. And you were like, it's the top. Nobody believed you. And then you said it's the top again. I listened to you the second time. So I dumped I didn't have anything. So coming in this time, I was like, I feel comfortable with these, those old coins, but I really want to get into like Mina or Arbitrum, some of the newer ones.
Yeah,
And then
some
it's
that
like,
never saw a bull market too.
exactly. But then it's like, I don't even feel comfortable like going into some of the older coins that we were interested in 3 years ago or 4.
Yeah, I mean, you can just simply, again, I'm not trying to tell you guys how to position your portfolio, but like you could simply go into something like super high speculation, just like less money, right? And then you could go into something like Cardano that may come out with a 5 to 10x next cycle. And that would be like your hedge against your position. You could even get into something super, super high speculative. Like I think a lot of people think they need to put thousands into these projects that could go to zero. I can tell you guys, like I made a lot of money just from putting hundreds in a lot of these projects that could go to zero. And you could turn those hundreds into tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars within a bull cycle pretty easily. And it's just because your risk to reward, right? Your reward is very high, your risk is very high, but you need to risk less capital. Otherwise, you're not gonna make it to the next bull run. Otherwise, right? If those things continue to draw down, and you put in $10,000, that $10,000 turns into $500 or $300, you're going to be pretty upset. You may sell that and position it somewhere else, but you've already lost your exponentials because of what you did there. And if you're dialing into a project and you want to allocate, I don't know, $1,000, $2,000 or whatever to a super high speculative asset, I would do it in this way. And I'll tell you, especially if it's falling, because I've been doing this with falling ones. And it is like, say I want to allocate $2,000. I just literally just don't really look at price. I put $100 this week. Next week I put another 100. Next week I put another 100. Next week I put another 100. And I just keep buying, right? Like I'm not really looking at where the price is on the chart. I'm just buying into the project. And a lot of the time it's worked out pretty well because the price was already dropping. So it's been DCAing down essentially. So it's been very lucrative for me to do that. And some days or some weeks I bought in and been down 75%, right, on a drop, and bought into that position. I didn't go in heavy. Again, I stayed to the plan. I came back in with another 100, and price bounced back up really hard, and I got a stupid amount of coins down there with $100. And that you just have to be patient a lot of this. So this is the time to buy and hold. I know it sounds stupid. I know a lot of people want to continue to trade the market. There's not enough volatility in my perspective. I'm just going to be real with you guys to trade these markets right now. It's just like, you could trade them if you want. Like, I think they're tradable, but like, I feel like most people are going to lose liquidity versus get liquidity trading right now, right? So I'm continuing to DCA into things and not worrying so much about trading, or at least leveraging, right? Trading, sure, you can trade some things, but like I'm not trying to get too heavy into leverage right now. I just think it's gonna kill your capital.
I learned my lesson 2 years ago with that. I'm not messing around anymore.
Yeah, this is that time. I mean, you're looking for that generational wealth, Erica, and if you want that, it's not risking capital, it's allocating capital.
I think I'm good. But I think I just basically, like, I just got a little bit of money a couple of times in 2023. And I mean, I knew, like, I bought the dips and everything, but I was a little impatient, I think.
Always be patient. And that's why I said, like, taking, like, set an amount and then set it to the side and just slowly dial in. Even if you think you got the most optimal price, right? You'd be like, this is where I put it all in. This is the price. This is the drop. No, just literally dial your way in. Bull market's not until like middle of next year, anyways, at least the halving. It's not until the middle of next year. So if that's the case, there's no rush. There's no rush right now. Just dial in and continue to dial in until it comes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Ozio, what's up?
Hey, I still like the idea of eyeballing the launch pads. And right now the market caps are kind of juicy, but most of them are like below 5 mil, which is pretty nice. But I would just want to make sure that my thought process is correct. A lot of these market caps are so low because in order for them to make money, people or customers or new projects would have to pick the company first amongst others, right? And so I'm imagining that's based on like performance during an active cycle. But we probably wouldn't see any movement until after altcoins pick up. Is that correct? Or
yeah, when the market starts to see liquidity again, you'll start to see new projects start to come in, right? And as new projects start to come in, they need to launch somewhere because they need to get VC money. So
right,
those new projects will then launch on these launch pads, and that will bring liquidity to the launch pads, and then you'll get speculation on launch pads from people trying to get into those projects, and it's like a double whammy because the person who's trying to get the project needs to own the token to get the project, right? The project needs to own the token to be able to get launched on the launch pad. So it's like you're getting double liquidity from both sides of the play there. So
right.
It's really good for launch pads when liquidity starts to pick up and come back. That's why it's good to buy these, even though they look dead. A lot of these launch pads look really dead. They're actually really good deals.
They're dead because right now people wouldn't be buying into it to be developing. Well, I mean, they should be, but they're really not.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they'll be doing it when the market picks up, and then it's kind of, I'm not going to say it's too late, but the main point is I'm trying to understand. So the basics was meme coins might shoot up and then Bitcoins go up. And then when Bitcoin stops moving, then the alts start to move. And in that cycle, I'm trying to understand where would launchpads fit in that flow.
They bid in the froth. That's where they bid. They bid in the froth. I'm serious.
That's so true.
That's where they come in, man. I'm telling you, like, look, people don't even realize it. Like because launch pads, they typically come out of nowhere, right? Like you'll be partway through the froth, and all of a sudden, your favorite launch pad, you know, that was selling that token for like 2 pennies is now selling it for like $20 a token, because there's so much froth in the market that people are coming in. They're bidding both sides. You got the projects trying to get on the launch pad, and you got the investors trying to get into the project. So you got double buying on those launch pads from both ends. And that all leads into speculation, right? Speculation drives this whole thing. And this is why I told you guys in 2021, and I'll continue to tell you guys, especially going into the next market, sell everything when the bull run comes. Like literally just drop your entire bag on the market. Don't get into the super cycle theory process. Like this is not rocket science. It's buy low, sell high. Buy while everybody doesn't want to, sell when everybody wants to or wants to buy, right? When everybody's wanting to buy, you sell. When everybody wants to sell, you buy. Do the opposite of the market. And I feel like so many people just, it's such a fundamental thing that just people, they don't get it. What is everybody wanting to do right now? Look at this chart. What are they wanting to do? They want to sell. They want to sell. So what should you be doing? You should be buying. It's really, it sounds simple. And I can tell you guys, you're like, man, that makes so much sense. But a lot of people, they're going to lead this meeting tonight and they're like, I think it'll go lower. That's what they're going to think. This is exactly what they're not going to buy at all. And
it's so hard. It's so hard.
But this is why I'm telling you guys, like, you just, you know, you got to kind of come in with a different mindset. And if it's too difficult for you to be like, I can't put in the whole amount I want to here, if that's too difficult, then dial in, right? $100 here, don't look at it. $100 there, don't look at it. $100 there, don't look at it. You know, try and dial in, because right now gas fees are low too. So swapping's not difficult. You know.
Okay, last question, Will, and I'll stop and let everyone else go.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm into gaming coins too. I think my gaming research habits did me very well last cycle. Damn, I forgot what they were called. But essentially, like, they're like groups of people that are on like this team, like YGG and amongst other groups, and then like they buy shitloads of these gaming coins because they're trying to support their group, I guess. But you think that's still a thing moving forward? I mean, I don't know if I want to invest in those groups anymore, even though they made me a lot of money last time. I think I'm not sure if people figured out that it's not really worth it.
What, with the games?
Yeah, I can't believe I can't think of what these organizations are called at this point in time. But like a group like YGG would buy like millions of dollars worth of gaming coins and then sponsor players to play the games for them, and then that's how the community made money.
Kind
remember
of like
those guys?
Like Axie Infinity and stuff like that.
Yeah, like
where they were like hiring people.
Oh, they're called guilds.
Sponsoring.
That's what they're called. Yeah.
Yeah.
So YGG, and there was like 5 other ones that I was like part of, and I don't have time to play these games, but I would buy their coins, made like 20x my money with those groups. But I don't know. I mean, none of them did well during the bear cycle. They do exist based on like just because of their communities, and they give out scholarships to players to come in and play for them because that's how the company makes money. But I just don't know because I feel like every time the market goes back down, it's like people have a chance to sort of like regroup and rethink their trading strategies, and I'm just not sure if those groups categorize themselves as like meme communities, and people might not want to jump on that train anymore.
Well, I think when it comes to speculation, there's no holds barred, right? Everything's good. Especially in crypto, like gaming, everything's good. I think gaming has a definite place in crypto. I think there's a lot of things that look, I'll tell you this, I've been buying NFTs on like gaming projects and all kinds of stuff. Like, Like I bought a bunch of like GameStop NFTs that, with the GameStop Illuvium, where they were having those
Yeah.
discs. I bought a bunch of those. And those are like the creatures that they have that they're like special editions. But I think those do really well in the next market, man. Look, I can tell you guys, like, I bought like 2 NFTs last cycle. And 2 of those NFTs went for almost 6 figures. And that's not including the other like 300 and something that I have left, right? And I only invested like $2,500 into those NFT projects. And I got that much money out of it. Like it's actually pretty nutty. Speculation gets really high in crypto market. I'm not saying go buy like a Bored Ape, but like I'm saying like these were gaming NFTs and these projects were offering X amount of return if you had these specific NFTs. And I luckily got some of the rare ones. And because I bought all the packs really early while everybody was still speculating our NFT is going to be a thing. And then, I sold them off to the next round of participants for significantly higher than what I bought them. And I'm okay with that. Like they could be worth even more next cycle, right? If I wanted to go back and pick up those NFTs right now, all the ones I sold, I could pick them up for 1/20th of what I paid for them. 1/20th of what I paid for them. It's actually insane. But yeah. What's that?
The NFTs on Vivi?
On Vivi? Yeah, I think the Vivi ones are still doing well, aren't they?
They're really low right now, so I was thinking of buying a couple, but I've seen the prices before historically, and they're crazy.
Yeah, they were really well. They have branding. They have permission to use certain brands and stuff, Marvel and all that stuff like that.
But their stuff is set up like completely different though.
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
Like you can't like take it. You can't like take it off of their stuff, off of their. I don't know how to say it, but
it's part of their platform. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not cross-platform. It's their specific. I would say look at Filecoin right here. I mean, this looks really good, right? You got these Wiccans. Now, keep in mind, this could just be some kind of like longer term failure that shows up later. But like even Filecoin, like this is one of those ones too that just will not see price action until money comes back into the market, right? So these are definitely things that you got to pay attention to. These are what I like to call the froth or the hype part of the market. Why does Filecoin go up in a market? Because as projects start to build, they need space, and they typically like to use decentralized space, and you'll use files, SIA, all that stuff like that. And that's what drives price on these. These lose price as projects start to die or start to not need as much space. Because why? Because the market loses liquidity and they don't want to pay for extra space that they don't need, so they drop the space. But in the bull run, these will see really good dividends as far as like the upside potential due to that, right? Like look at File right here. File hit $286. Imagine buying File at $280 and currently looking at it at $3.40. Just think about that in your head. If you rode that all the way back down. There are some people in this market that are completely obliterated while people are sitting here crying about current price. Look, if I would have told you in 2021, right, when File reached 280, if I'd have been like, hey, in about 2 more years, you can buy File at $3. In 2021, would you have been all over that? With File sitting at 280?
Only because I've heard you say it before, so yes. Not on Filecoin, but I've heard you say it on Tesla. I've heard you say it before, so.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not even saying like you guys had to buy File. I'm just telling you like price point to price point. Why does it matter if it goes deeper? If you think it can go up. What's your recovery on that? I mean, you hit $30, that's 10. You hit 60, that's 20. You hit 120, that's 40, right? You hit 240, that's what? That's 80x. Just do the numbers, right? And you don't even have to reach all-time high. Like you come halfway up.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So don't you think that, I mean, for me personally, like if I invested at Filecoin at that at the price that it is now. I feel like I got in at a great price, but everybody that's holding, they're gonna be trying to dump. So if you're not on it, you're literally still gonna be exit liquidity if you don't pay attention.
This is the mindset everybody's in right now. This is why prices are staying floating and not dropping and not going up. Do you see what I'm saying, Erica?
Yeah, yeah.
Like this for me now is the time for risk, right? Even if there's more downside. Because my downside doesn't equal these people's downside. Think if this came down to like 30 cents from $3, you'd be down bad, right? These people would be holding pennies.
Yeah, they're done.
They're done. So like your downside doesn't equal that. They need price to come up significantly higher before they could even attempt to exit. Whereas you, yeah, maybe went to 30, comes back up, halfway up, you can just get out. And you're still in big profit.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah. Damn.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like your downside to your upside, it's drastically different night and day, right? And I'm not even saying like these are going to come back up and form new highs, or I'm literally just saying like ride these up halfway and get out. Because there's always going to be an exit liquidity pump if the project's still alive.
Yeah, the thing that messes people up is they try to time the peaks, get out at the absolute all-time high.
Yeah, you don't have to. You do not have to do that. I think it's completely the wrong approach to, like, even when I was telling you guys, yeah, I was close to the top on Bitcoin when we were talking about it, but it's not about timing the top. It's about knowing when the market is oversaturated and being able to identify that and be like, all right, I'm going to sit on the sidelines, take all this profit off, and watch everybody else get wrecked. And that's what I did. When everybody called me Debbie Downer in 2021, and I was like, okay, keep watching. And we got the first flush, and everybody told me it ain't going below 30. I was like, okay, we'll see. Bounce up, dropped right below 30, and just annihilated people. I mean, you got altcoins down 99x plus, right? And people were telling me how up here that they were going to hold their altcoins. I was like, look, I get it if you say you want to hold your Bitcoin, but if you're telling me you're going to hold your altcoins, you got a long way down on altcoins. This drop for altcoins was like the entire liquidity pool. People got annihilated in 2021. So you got to really think about those things when you're investing, and understand you can be as bullish as you want on Bitcoin, but when you start reaching Pico froth, it's time to drop all your altcoin bags. Like, you just got to call it at a certain point. I remember going into 2021, and some of the people in the group were literally sitting there like, I know there's a little bit left. There's a little bit more left. There's a little bit. Dude, what are you talking? What does it matter if there's a little bit more left? Like, you're at the top. Like, just get out. You're trying to like drag out the very last life essence of the market. That's a horrible position to be taking. And I think even at these prices right now with Bitcoin, where Bitcoin's at, and I think, even with potential drawdown to 19, 20K, hey, maybe it even comes down to here. Maybe, right? Your downside on altcoins, where are you gonna go? What's your downside? Some of these altcoin pools are just completely obliterated. There's nobody left to sell. They bought at 275. They're currently sitting at 30 cents. Are they going to sell like a $10,000 bag for like $2? It's going to cost them more for the transaction. They can't sell. They can't get out. So if they can't get out, guess what? You're scooping up the floor. And some of you be like, well, they'll have sell pressure. No. Those people bought up here. They have to break even before they're going to try and get out. So where do they break even? They don't break even till they're up here. So if you're buying down here, even if you wanted to cut your position here, you're still out well before they are. And I'm saying that on altcoins. I'm saying that on Bitcoin. I'm saying that on Ethereum. Like, I know there's a lot of talk of some kind of big recession and some kind of big look. I think that comes. I just think it comes later. I've looked at this. I've thought about it. I talked to you guys about this, right? At the end of 2022, I talked to you guys about this. I was like, look, I'm bearish in the market, yada, yada. Because, you know, I saw something. Nothing came. Nothing came. In Q1, it was just positive earnings. And then people still didn't want to bid that up. And now we're dropping in price. But here's the thing. Everybody wants to buy this, but they don't want to buy this. What's the difference? One, you're buying down, which means you're getting more and more and more as the price is dropping. One, you're buying up, which means you're getting less and less and less as the price is pumping. Think about that. Think about that for like 2 seconds, because that was everybody over here. Nobody wanted to buy this, but everybody wanted to buy this. Isn't that backwards thinking? I would arguably say yes.
Yes. Do you ever like find out about a coin and you see it going up or whatever, and you're just like, I just want to get a position, and you just
Nope.
buy it?
Nope.
No. Ooh.
Nope. Look, if I get that feeling, I literally will avoid it. I'll just avoid it. I'll be like, all right, I'll look for something else.
All right, I'm not gonna lie, I've done that a lot, I'll say.
Yeah.
Like
but-
if I know, if I'm convicted that it's a coin I want to get in, and I'm like, dang. And
But what are you convicted on? Price going up?
But okay, let's say I have let's say I want to put I'm gonna just put a small $200.
Okay.
I might just buy 25 at that, like right now, when I decide like, oh yeah, I really want to be in that coin. And then I set all my other price points. It's almost
What-
like a little small reminder or something.
What are you curving when you do that?
Oh, I'm probably a gambler.
There you go.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, everybody has that in them, right? Everybody has that in them, even me. But it's more about controlling it. And how do
Yeah.
you control it? I would say, arguably, here's the best way, right? I want in Bitcoin, yada yada yada, but I want it at a certain price. Set an alarm, close the chart, don't look at it anymore. When you get the alarm notification, go back, look at the chart, see where you are.
Or why not just set the limit order?
You could do that too. I'm just saying, like,
Yes.
you could set an alarm just so you can go back and look at it first and evaluate and be like, all right, is this something I want to get into? Or you could set, you could set the limit order too. But I think a lot of people, they set the limit order and then they get impatient and they want to move it up and move it up and move it up because they think it's not going to come back to their limit.
Oh no,
And then
I cancel them.
And then if you're moving your limit up, you're doing the same thing. You're buying up again. And that's the hard part to get through a lot of people, is to get them to understand, don't buy up, buy down. Right? That's the hardest thing to break for a lot of people. And
Yeah.
I think in time people will get it. Well, not everybody, because there's gonna be a lot of people just gonna come here and continue to lose money. But I think a lot of people, they find the right people to listen to, and find the right people to advise them. So I'm not advising anybody, by the way. I just want to throw that out there. You know, they can definitely get in the right positions. I think there's always money on the table. There's always availability to gain liquidity out of the market. But if you're not first, you're last, right? It's just what it is. We can Ricky Bobby it all day if we want to, but the whole point is that if the chart has already started moving, you are not your exit liquidity. That's what you are. If the chart is to the downside, what are you? You're a market maker. You're making the market. You're buying down, right? If you're buying up, you're a market taker. You're a market order, right? You're willing to buy anywhere. And if you're willing to buy anywhere, that's not investing. That's gambling. I know that may not be what everybody wants to hear,
Yeah.
but it's just the reality of it, right? It's speculation based on price action and momentum. I'll tell you the best price action momentum is a bullish divergence on a downtrending chart. That's your best price action momentum. I look when I see a chart that looks like it's dying and I see a bull div, you guys don't even want to know what goes through my head. I'm the happiest person alive. Right? Everybody else is like this thing, it's dead, it's done project, don't and I go and I pull it up. What do I see? A bull div. And I'm like, I'm buying. Go ahead and call it whatever you want. I'm buying. And usually what does it do? It reverses. I mean, same thing happened here on Bitcoin, guys. Like, this is something, I mean, Taz was in the group. I think he was one of the only people listening to me when I was like, guys, look. And this is why I started buying paid and I started buying all the other stuff that I was buying, like all the other altcoins. Because like when you looked at it from a momentum standpoint, you were way below RSI oversold, and you had price moving in the opposite direction of momentum being strength. Now, if we were to drag this across, what do we see? Where are we at?
It's hitting the trend.
Yeah, it's hitting the trend. So until this breaks, this could be the reversal point. Right. And this is why I said this POC matters. This point of control matters. It matters because A, it's holding the trend, still the bull div, right? Still the bull div from back here, still holding the trend. And B, it's above the 50, right? So like, think of it like this, like you have almost two liquidity areas. So you have the lower liquidity area, which is right here. And you have the higher liquidity area, which is right up here. That's your POC. Lower, upper. And if we were to take this and flip it up here, guess what? Boom. This flipped here. Now, how could we see that? Well, let's try and do a bars chart real quick.
That whole zone flipped.
Yeah, the whole zone flipped, and we haven't even we haven't even done what we could have done here, right? So if I were to take this and I were to flip this up, I think it's flip. No, flip does it the other way. My bad. Mirror.
Can you tell us how to do that, please?
That's what that would look like, right? Or even that right there. So this is the bars chart. So it's just right here.
Know how to copy that that pattern that you
The
just did
fractal.
in
Yeah, so you click this right here, bars. So open, come down to bars right here. Click it, and then it'll let you pick 2 points. And you pick your first point, you drag it to your second point, and you click again, and then it'll create a fractal from previous price action. And then you can right click and you can flip it. Flipping it only turns it left to right, whereas mirror flips it up. All right, that's your mirror.
Thank you. I always see people doing that. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Now, again, don't take fractaling as some kind of like say all be all. I think these are more reminiscent of kind of trying to look at previous price and maybe gauge what the potential is for the move. But I would never take this as like a definite, this is what's going to play, guys. Like go with this one, just long up here, yada, yada, yada. I would never do that. I like to entertain fractals, but I more like to entertain support and resistance. And arguably, I would say we're at support, right? And we can see that because of price right over here on this wick. And that's right here where we wick to. We're holding that area. And we pulled right back above on the body candle. And we're holding right that 26K zone. So if we continue to hold here, could easily swing long. What I would look for is a rejection fail. Maybe up there if it's going to fail, right? And if it's not going to fail, it's going to move back into this area, retest high, chop, and then probably break, right? And then come back down or whatnot. So something, one of these two will play out here, or price will just trade sideways, maybe get a spike, and then boom. But yeah, that's my thoughts on a lot of that stuff. I know somebody asked about, as much as I want to get into tickers, guys, this turned into a turned into a ticker fest when we start doing that. But I'll cover a few. I'll cover DOT real quick. I don't know. Yeah, well, we can cover DOT. That's fine. I haven't looked at DOT in a while.
It's looking nice.
Let's go here. DOT's looking nice, you said?
Yeah, I've been picking up DOT maybe too often. I can't help it, but I'm okay with it.
Hey man, it hit 50 in last cycle and held it pretty steadily. So
Yeah,
that's an easy 10x.
I got in at
25.
$10 last cycle. We'll pull that at 50 for sure. Then we'll do it again.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's an easy hedge in my opinion. But we'll see how it plays here.
But I'm gonna go full degenerate,
Bro,
and
look at
get
this.
DOT and Polka Starter. Like,
Look, I already had the chart made. Look at that. Like you can see the liquidity. Boom. 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 Should you buy or should you not? If you were just looking at this chart.
I wish they
It
had a
looks
credit card.
perfect.
You can't get a better retest of that ever. But that's a beautiful retest. So yeah, I mean, for me, this would be that zone. This would be that zone right here. And I think in hindsight, it'll show out, in hindsight. Yeah, this one looks really good.
The CEO of Polkadot has been very active in court hearings, along with other founders, to like defend the crypto space. I've been liking his presence in the whole legal theater.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it looks good to me, guys. Like I think I might get some of that actually, but yeah, this looks really good. Like for me, $4 to $5, as you can see right here, I already had it drawn out, was my zone. It was just my zone. Like there was no better price zone, and you were like, if I were somebody who had money to allocate and this was something I was looking at, I would be buying. But like I am buying here. I'm just telling you guys, like, if I were like in other people's shoes. This area looks really good. Now again, drawdown can happen, right? You can somehow violate, come down, maybe hit something like that and bounce back out. But the reality is, does that matter to upside? Right? What's your upside potential? So, and keep in mind, DOT in 2021 was not operational, right? The project wasn't fully functional. I think in the next cycle it will be. And Cardano wasn't fully functional, and when it became fully functional, it went to 90 billion market cap from 2 cents. So just keep that in mind too.
You think the previous parachains is what's making that $5 for 50 range like a concrete floor?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, because those are locked up for X amount of time. Yeah, that it could definitely be part of the scenario here.
Even on major dips, even on major Bitcoin dips, I've noticed Polkadot only fluctuates like maybe 10-20 cents.
Look, I already had it drawn out here. Happened over here. See what I mean? You never know when it's going to happen. You just know where it's going to happen. And I was basically showing how they were going to retest liquidity right over here. Again, thought it was going to happen here. Came up, hit the rejection. Boom. Came back up. lower highs. This looks really good. Like this for me is like my first DCA, which I'll probably get some of this tonight. And then my second DCA, as you can see, obviously is down here, right? $7, $8 if it can get here. If it doesn't get there, I'm already in. So if price reverses back up, guess what I'm doing? Not buying any more of this. I'm gonna go buy something else. That's how you have to look at these. Plenty of projects to get into. All right, guys, went a lot longer than I was anticipating. But
Hey, are you still doing private sessions for money?
I stopped that after Alex. That was only because Alex pressured me to do that, but I tend to
Okay.
try and help you guys out for free, to be honest
Cool.
with you.
And tune into him on Twitter. He's popping. He's giving out information all day long.
Yeah, I've dropped a lot of good projects on there, guys. Like I don't know if you guys have been paying attention.
You mean
I
like on your own Twitter or with because?
yeah, no, on
Bitcoin's
my
Twitter.
Twitter. On my Twitter.
I need to learn.
And
how
everybody
to use that
else's
more.
too.
Yeah. I drop on other people's too, yeah, but primarily I try to drop everything like it when I see new projects or I'm looking at things that look really good. There was a couple other ones, like a couple metaverse plays. The Sugar Town, I threw that out to you guys too on my Twitter. That was a free mint. I think it's still going. But the creators of that project are actually the creators from GTA 5. So that's going to be a really interesting one. That's going to be some kind of like metaverse play. Here, I'll post it in the Discord real quick. Hold on 1 second. Copy link to post. And let me drop it in here real fast. Look at that, everyone. So this is the one where I dropped in the you can read the article and look into it. It's a pretty good article on Sugartown. But yeah, that one looks really good. And then there was another one that was like I know Definity is ICP. There's another one that's D something. I forget what it's called, but it's on there. I dropped like I want to say like 10 gaming cryptos this year that look really freaking good as far as projects go. And I have so much stuff on my feed. It's crazy. I'll try and dig them out for you guys later. But yeah, I dropped like a bunch on there that I was looking at. I think gaming again, it's a $1 billion industry. It's gonna make money. NFTs are not going anywhere. They're gonna make money. Again, non-fungible tokens doesn't just mean JPEGs of apes. There's lots of other use cases for them. It could be items in a game. It can be your character in a game. It could be an avatar, a piece of land. All that stuff can be NFTs that have value. Yeah, that's my thoughts overall. I'll try and dig that stuff out for you guys here in a little bit. Some of the ones I posted and throw those in there for you guys. Trying to see if I have any that are closer to recent. Yeah, because like while everybody was sitting there like, oh no, market's gonna drop. I just keep digging out projects because it only makes sense here to be continued to dive into projects, look for new things to invest into, and continue to invest going into the next bull. I don't see the point in being super bearish here. Let me see. I thought I had one sooner up here. Carnival call. Discussion Rivian. Yeah, the Rivian play. What do you guys think of that? That was pretty crazy.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that one
nice.
that went nuts, man. That was and we got in that really early too.
I literally did. That was like my best play all year. Literally.
Yeah, that one was nuts, man. I couldn't believe it played out the way it did. It just exploded. That one and Palantir. Palantir did really good too. That was another one also.
For Rivian, I DCA'd at 10 something, 11 something, and 12 something.
And then all of a sudden it was 25.
Yeah. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, that was the play. Let's see. Yeah, well, you guys should have. If you guys followed the plays, you definitely made some money. I wouldn't say some things didn't play out as well, but I wouldn't say you really lost money in them. They just haven't moved, like Lucid, for instance. That one didn't do jack anything, but you know, it is what it is. Oh, so here's where I posted the GameStop Illuvium partnerships. I was looking at Rad. Rad looked really good too. I'd be taking a look at that if I were you guys. Zoom's almost back to floor price. Rad looks really good, man. Like, I've been watching it. It's just been trading sideways and refusing to go down.
SPCE, please, please, please.
All right, hold on just a second. Just looking.
Why do you like it so much, Will?
Which one?
Why do you like Rad so much?
It's just it's a dev play. So I'm bullish on dev plays. Anything that helps developers and stuff like that. Rad's one of those things. So the other ones, oh yeah, Altura. Obviously, you guys already know about that. That one. I think Altura is going to be a beautiful play. Actually, I think it's been doing really well too. I haven't looked at it in a while. Galactic Holdings. Is it a crypto project or what is it?
No, stock. Yeah, yes, Galactic. Yes. Virgin Galactic. Yes, yes, yes. That's Richard Bronson or whatever his name is.
I mean, it looks good.
Yeah, buy time.
So it may be something like, I mean, it could come down a little more. Yeah, it's almost like it wants to come back down, but you also have, nah, it fell through that. Yeah, I would say look at the 30, wherever price lands on the 30. I don't know. I'd have to look into fundamentals on this. There's just not a lot on the chart telling me that this is the place to buy it, other than this spike. That I would be watching for, right? Whenever you catch spikes on a drop, it's indicative of, you know, overreaction, and then you start to dive back down again, and then, you know, that could be just price bleeding a little bit. But, you know, I would be looking for something like this first, because you see how price is just dropping. There's no indication that this is
Yeah.
going to stop. So
Yeah.
until you kind of see this, like, I'll show you ICP. This is a perfect example.
And
Price
it's
right
way
here.
below its opening price too.
Yeah, see, this is the open up here for ICP. ICP just drops and drops and drops, and then ICP starts to find its footing, right? And when you start to see this, that's where you can start dialing in. Even if price can go lower, it makes more sense to buy here than it does to buy into this, right? And then you wait for it to drop. If it goes lower, you just hold the position and you DCA again here. And what that does is that brings your average in between here. And then if price reverses back above your average, you're more than likely in the green. You're good to go, right? So now you can just hold on to this. And then at that point, you can take this up to wherever it's going to go, if it's going to go bullish into another bull run. And same thing with the one you're looking at, right? So like this one, same thing. Wait for sideways before investing. And then one sideways kind of it looks like it's working. It does look like it's circling out, right? But I would let it kind of do its thing first before I try and dial into that. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. And that's a good example where I was talking about earlier, where I really wanted to get into this, so I just threw my little bit at it, and then I set my price points below that. Like just throw a little bit to get in, and then set price points below that.
The problem a lot of the time is everybody's so desperate to catch a bottom. But the reality is like, if you're just patient enough, if price comes back up, it's going to come back down and retest.
And that's actually the whole answer to my whole thing I said earlier was, I feel like I got in too early. Yeah. Yeah. You taught me a good lesson right now. Like, yeah, it's falling down. That's good that it's going down, but it's not running sideways yet.
Yeah, it hasn't really caught its footing. So because it hasn't caught its footing, it's not really a good place to speculate, right? You want to speculate once you've caught your footing on anything. Yeah, even on the monthly, you're kind of like still in this trend that looks like it could bleed more. But like you always want to catch your footing before you start speculating. Once you catch your footing, you can speculate, you can buy. And then if you lose your footing, that's okay. Hold your position and speculate again on the next consolidation range. And then if you lose it again, maybe stop buying this and wait and see what it does, right? Because if you 3 drive down, arguably your 3rd drive should be your last drive, but it doesn't mean that this company won't go bankrupt at that point, right? So I would probably speculate, stop buying. Price comes back up, boom, I'm in the green. Okay, I've got my position. I just hold from here, right? Whereas a lot of people, what they want to do is they want to buy here, price breaks, they want to sell, buy here, but usually by the time you do something like that with price, and you come in and you bought speculation here, price drops, you sold, deviation pulls back up and goes. Now you're buying up here. You completely lost your position because you tried to sell here to buy at the next consolidation range. But where's the next consolidation range? There's absolutely zero.
You
way
don't
to
even
tell.
know.
You
Yeah,
don't
you
know.
don't even know.
You don't know. So like you have to wait for a price to fill itself out because you don't know where the next drop is.
I
You-
love
you-
when you taught us that U shape. Once you taught us that U shape, oh man, it was just like so easy to like get into coins once you taught us that. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just the curve. That's all you're looking. You're looking for the curve. The curve is indicative of slowing price action, and then sideways is indicative of it finding its footing. Now, again, this curve can fail, right? It can fail. And what I would look for it to fail is if price broke through it, then the curve doesn't exist here anymore, right? Now, let's say price broke through it and it goes like this, your curves just got bigger, right? That's all it is. You continue to move with price action. And until your price action confirms a floor, once it gets that sideways action, you can draw your curve, right? You violate that curve and you break your support, you redraw a new curve. Ignore your previous curve. Doesn't exist anymore. And set your levels, right? So you got your first level here. If price drops down again, you'll simply come in, you'll drop a second level wherever that price sits. And this is where you'll be kind of, if you wanted out, for instance, right? If you wanted out, your DCA is probably somewhere in the middle between these two. You could get out here in the green, right? So more than likely you would see, let's say you think it's going to go deeper, you're done with the stock. You're not trying to buy cheaper. You're done with it. It comes back up, get out. Price will more than likely come back down again, so on and so forth, right? Because you can reject anywhere below here. And then if price comes back down again, you dodged a bullet, good to go, move on. A lot of people, they like to come into plays like this, DCA down, do all the right stuff, get out maybe at break even, and then they want to come back to this chart again. They want to buy back into this project again. No, when you walk away from something, walk away from it, right? That's the easiest way to keep yourself from getting mentally played by price action. Yeah, that's my thoughts. Yeah, I'll just wait on that one for now. I don't think it's quite there yet, but just look for that consolidation. It looks like it's going to take months to play, so you got time to kind of watch it. Just keep it on your radar, and then once it starts playing out, then you can start dialing in.
Thank you.
All right, guys. That's gonna be it for tonight. 2 hours. I'll throw up the recording here in a bit. I'll put it on YouTube for you guys, and then throw it up for you.
Gracias.
And
Thanks for
we
your time,
will
Will.
chat again. Yeah, for sure. It's
I
again
appreciate
my
the dedication.
apologies. I don't know if you guys know, but like, dude, I've been just stupid crazy busy, man. Like we've been doing like 8-hour spaces and like YouTube videos and just like so much stuff, man. I'm trying to get back in the groove. I'll try and get you guys, at least maybe once a week or something like that at minimum. Hopefully more if we can get time to do that. I was even considering like, I don't know, like branching off a little bit or breaking away from some of the things I'm doing, but I'm trying to stay involved so I can do really well in the next bull run. Maybe you got to find some sponsors in the next bull run too. That'd be really cool. So.
Oh, you know what I was thinking last week? you could, I'm not telling you to do this, but you could do a Twitter space like I mean, you do them all the time, but like maybe once a week and pull up people that you know from the group, like on the stage.
Yeah, yeah, we can probably do that too. There's the thing with Twitter Spaces, like I don't mind bringing up anybody. Like the thing is with Twitter Spaces, like you can't show anything. Like you can throw up images, but like you can't like share charts like what we're doing here on Zoom and stuff like that. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Definitely scroll through my feed. I got a lot of stuff on there. I've got a lot of stuff. If you guys are looking for information and stuff like that, projects, like I've thrown a lot on there. Here, actually, I just before we go, I just want to pull up Alter and see how that's been doing, and then kind of call it from there. But that's been one of my babies right there. This one's been doing really well. It was an ALTR or something like that. I have it on here. Or ALU. So, yeah, ALU. That's it. All right, cool. Yeah, look at this. This thing has been doing really good. I would arguably say we're in a consolidation range right here. And that's a good thing because if we're gonna leg up, that's gonna be a good thing, right? But if it breaks back down, that may not be a good thing. But I would say at that point you're looking at kind of like something like that, right? Until you break that low. So definitely something to keep an eye on. This project right here looks really promising. It's not super high market cap. Lots of potential here. Yeah, just throwing that out there. Yeah, Nakamoto Game's another one too I've been watching. I did get X-Kurt. I told you guys about that a while back. It's continued to bleed. If it doesn't go to zero, it will do really well. I don't even think you need much in it. I think maybe $100, right? X-Kurt is completely obliterated as far as the project goes, and extremely small market cap. Extremely small market cap. Do not go in like, oh, I'm gonna put 1,000 into this, and you only got 10,000 to invest, right? I don't think that's the smartest idea. But like, hey, if you wanted to speculate $100 on it, it's so low of a market cap that it could turn into something like, I don't know, 5 figures, 6 figures from $100, which isn't bad at all. But speculating, shooting for moonshots, guys, it's like going to the gas station and putting your rent money in for lottery tickets. I don't think it's a good thing to be doing. Try to be smart about your investments while you're dealing with a lot of this stuff. This is the time to make money, not the time to speculate to lose money. All right. But again, we'll chat again, guys. I'll try and get something set up for next week, and then we'll chat again.
Thanks, Will. Appreciate it.
No problem. All right, you guys have a good evening.
You too.